gatekeeper is the manager.
Oh, that's sneaky.
And for the department C, there is the gatekeeper manager C. So,
Danica, please, can you show us again that table, please, with departments?
Yes.
So, okay, this is okay for this case, okay, but let me explain you in the future. What we will have to do is retrieve the reporting hierarchy not from this table, but from the TrueComp from the TrueComp reporting hierarchy. So in TrueComp, you know that we have participants, and then the participants can be assigned to one or more position, and each position has the manager property, okay? So it is the position object that has the information about who the manager is and who the payee as well, the payee, the information about the payee. So I guess that you guys, I think you are now developing all the TrueComp, TrueProducer functionality. So in the future, instead of retrieving the information from here, we will get it directly from TrueComp. And the difference is that in TrueComp, the payee can be assigned to more than one position. So in other words, it could have more than one manager. Okay, so right now, okay, here
the first version, but I done the second version that is getting the manager from the custom table.
Good.
So
okay.
I can show you that one.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay. The other version is that in the users custom table, I have listed all the registered users with their following columns: full name, email, department, user type, and the manager. This represents the login name for the manager. I guess for this example, manager is the registered user in Calidus 123 workflow. So I put his login name so I can easily get him via scripting. So what I done here is, for example, I will log in as some other user.
By the way, can you show me how do you switch here?
This switch is only visible from the this feature is for the super administrators, not for the this is our internal feature.
Okay.
Okay. Raul, maybe someday you'll grow up to get your own login.
Maybe you've been good.
Okay. So when I open this case and I fill some data, because I'm this user, this case should be automatically be assigned to manager from the custom table, which is manager A.
Okay.
I can return back as the administrator and to show you the custom table context. So I was logged in as this user, and for this user, this is the manager A. As you can see.
Good.
All right, I will now log in as manager A. Now, when manager is logged in, he will be able to see this case that is assigned to him in this list. And when he accesses the case, he will be able to see all available actions. The other thing that, okay.
I have one question, Danica. Is it possible within this tool, like for example, Comcast payment approval had a requirement where an approval is sought from two different users at the same time, and they both had to approve, so the action would join. Is it possible to trigger at the same time two tasks or cases to two different manager sets? One might be regional, one might be district. So is it, or does it have to be sequential? That the regional approves and then goes to district.
Well, it is possible to assign case to more than one user, and usually it's done
A
sequentially.
different case, because they potentially would display different information. The same kind of, well, is it possible? I mean,
yeah, so it's possible to assign it to multiple people, and the system will even keep track of who's approved it. You know,
yes,
one of
possible.
2 people approved or something. But so I think we'd have to kind of understand that a little bit better as to why it would need to be done in 2 separate cases. You know, you say different information can be displayed, but you can also have different screens displayed depending on who you are logging in. So
okay, so that could be controlled, who you're logging in, different information displayed. Yeah. So one user opens, they see, you know, ABC. Another one opens, it sees ABC and extra information because the higher level manager.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Okay, it is possible to done even with one case, not with creating 2 cases. We can assign a case to 2 users, and for each user we can set a different view of the case. So for each user we can set a different view of the case, and also what we can do. As you can see, this approve action will lead us to the second status. What we can do that both of those assignees will be able to see approve action, but case will not be moved until to the next status until both of users do the approval.
Okay. Okay.
Or 3 users or 4 users, whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions? Okay. So next thing that Raul asked me to do is to, when manager or whoever approves the case, he or she should be able to fill out some request credit amount. And if this amount is less than $1,000, it will be assigned to approver A, or it is higher or equal with $1,000, then it will be assigned to approver B. If I put here 5,000, then my case will be assigned to approver B.
Okay.
Or let me create again this case. Maybe I should log in as some. For example, for this user, when I create case, it will be different manager. Manager B. And if I put like $50, it will be assigned to approver A.
Good.
Okay. Are there any questions? Okay. Also, Raul, you asked me on our previous meetings about assigning case to different users based on the customer ID. I also done that scenario. Do you want me to show you?
Yes, please. Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
As much as you can show us, well, the best.
Okay. So. Also, what I done here, that is when you select some customer ID, and after performing this action, case will be assigned to appropriate group of the approvers. So let me show you how I done that. Actually, I done this by using a feature that is called post actions, by using scripting and using post actions. First, I changed a little this customer table. There is customer ID, name, market manager, and department column. And also, I created assignment groups. That is the fixed group of users to which you can assign a case. So there is assignment group A, in which are located users from permission group A. Permission group also are some fixed group of users for which you can define any permission to view case, permission to execute an action, permission to view or not to view some custom field and other things. So as you can see, for this permission group, there are those for users. For the B permission group, those for users. So what I've done in this section is that I updated the script, which was serving to us to show the name and appropriate name manager and market for every customer. Now I set the department value also in this script, and I also set one post action. Post actions are the actions that will be executed after you submit an action. So here I defined three very similar post actions. First one is assigned to department A. For these post actions, check the department field. If that department field is selected value A, then case will be assigned to assignment group A. Second rule is if in case is selected department B, case will be assigned to assignment group B, and for the C is the similar. So
Okay.
if I choose this group, if I choose this user, I think that this user will be from department A. As you can see on my left side, data is changed. We can see that here is department A, and here are the users that belongs to assignment group for the department A. So that is how I achieved that.
Good. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now going back to the case that we wanted to discuss today, can you show us how you implemented it also, please?
Okay. So for this case, I write a script that was I write the workflow script that was doing the following. This script was first what this script was doing is to getting the current user and current user's email. I used email because email is something that I have in this table, users, and according to current user's email, I get the desired entry by writing this query, select star from users, where email is like email that we get from the current user. After we get that entry,
excuse me, Danica, I have a quick question. Do we have any documentation on the underlying schema for this tool?
Like in our help page, you have the scripting is examples, and you have the list of all methods and actions and functions that you can use here.
Okay.
So,
and that was where you said? I'm sorry. Where would I find that?
On our help
Danica,
page.
just click the. Oh, hang on. Just click the question mark, Danica. Go back.
Okay.
Click the question mark next to the exit setup.
I selected Groovy scripting language, and this question mark actually actually serves for that question mark or some other.
Oh, I see. Next exit setup, right?
Yeah, next to exit setup. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's where it is. Under.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Danica, I'm teaching you now.
Okay. So,
and that's what the examples are.
Exactly. Here we have examples of the. Just wait to see.
Your screen may have froze, but yeah, there's examples in there. I mean, obviously it's not robust, and it's not.
Can you see my screen now?
I think all we see is that your cursor's over the question mark. I'm not so sure I think it might have frozen.
Because I think I lost WebEx connection. I lost the WebEx icon in start menu.
You are still the presenter.
Let me try to.
Yeah, guys. I mean, if there's certain scripts that maybe as we're going through these sessions, you guys would say, hey, that's a good example that I could reuse, or that's got some different pieces, like a loop that goes through related cases, or a loop that goes through containers or something. Just like good examples like that you could reuse for other things. Call that out, and we can update the help documentation. We can maybe put it out on some other place where you guys can access those different examples. So it's not tied up in all these different tenants, and you have to log into this tenant or that tenant to find it. So just call those out if you guys think it's something that would be helpful.
Yes, I agree with you totally. We are planning to update our help documentation, and also what we are planning to do is to develop a new feature that is called reusable components, in which you will be able to also reuse some scripts that are written on other tenants.
Okay.
So that's something. I'll try to connect on WebEx again.
Okay. Please continue.
Okay. Wait. So here, when we find a desired entry from that entry,
Danica, sorry,
okay.
Can you share your desktop?
Okay.
She's having some issues, you guys. There
Can
you go.
you see it now?
It's coming, I guess.
Okay, great.
Yeah. Now we see it. Yes.
So when we found desired entry from the custom table, from that entry we will see what is written in the column manager, and we will put that in the manager field. And we will set, and for the current case, we will set assignee that represents manager. And after that, we will update the case. That is how I done the assigning to appropriate user. Also, one more thing. For the approve action, here I also done some scripting. I written a workflow script in which I was getting current value of the custom field, the request credit amount, and also I get both users, approver A and approver B, and based on the credit value, if credit is less than 1,000, then I will set the assignee as approver A, or if it is larger than 1,000, I will set the approver B. And of course, at the end, I will update the case. So if you want, I can, for this that I done for today's meeting, I can write you detailed instructions, and also to put your links on appropriate pages in our online help, so you can maybe try it yourself.
I think that would be great. The more information, more direction you can give us up front, that would be fantastic.
Okay, I will try then for today to write some instructions for you guys.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so just to summarize, basically changing the assignments is always done with, from the current case, changing the value of the set assignee property, right? So it's basically any kind of logic we can get the approver from a custom table, from, I don't know, wherever, from comp, from the reporting hierarchy, and then we need to change the current case assignee with this method, right? Okay, so it's not, okay. And then this script because probably, I don't know if Wojtek is still familiar with the different type of scripts. I guess that this script in particular, it is a workflow script because it is executed after the submission, right? Or when? Can you show us in the workflow definition, in the workflow diagram, I think well, the workflow table, from where? Can you show us the action, and then this action from where you are executing it in the status? I mean, can you go to the workflow definition, please?
Okay. So here in the workflow metrics view, here I can find approve action. That is the action that will lead us from assigned to approval case.
I think your screen probably is frozen again. I see the cursor frozen. It's not moving.
Do you see the table, the metrics?
No, guys, do you see it?
Nope. Yeah, we're still seeing the script then. So.
Yeah, we see the script.
Maybe you're trying to exclude me as participant and then include me, exclude me as presenter, then include me again.
Okay. Now we see that. Yeah, now we see your cursor moving. Yeah.
Okay, great. So here's the workflow metrics table. And here is the approve action. That is the action that will lead us from assigned to approval status. Here, the actions that are on the main diagonal are the actions which will not change statuses. And here you can always imagine this, that like this is the from axis and this is the to axis. To from status axis and this is to status axis. So when I hear hover mouse, this is from assigned to approval. So when I click on approve action, it is marked with S, which means that it has some defined script, attached script to that action. And here, when I open events, I see that this script will be executed after workflow action. That means that after we click on submit action. So first, what will be done here, this action will first will first change status of current case, and then we'll execute the script.
Okay. Yeah. And now now that you are talking about different actions, could you create, just to show us, a new action and explain us the different action types? Because I think when you create a new action, there is a drop down from where you can select different type of actions. Could you explain us at least the most important ones?
Okay. There are different action types. First one is add comment, action for adding comment, and when you are using this action, or the comments will be displayed in the comment section of the case. As now I'll show you.
This is going to take a while if we go through and test each one.
No, I will not test. I will just show a little one.
No, don't test every. Just give us a brief explanation about.
So this approve action for
so the idea of these are they already like predefined? They have their own forms and so on.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of those actions have that predefined forms, but you can always change those forms. And
yeah,
you have default settings.
Kind of think. Sorry, you could kind of think of these as pre-built functions in a way, right? I mean, they're standard actions in the system that are going to do different things. So these are kind of the tools that you can use. There's really no way. I don't know, Dan. Maybe you can confirm this. There's no way to create a custom action, right? A custom action type.
No. They are defined action. But we have a lot of action types, so they pretty much cover the whole functionality. If you need something that's not covered by any of these action types, then you write a script.
Right, which is attached to one of those.
Yes, exactly. For that purpose, we have script action. So
Oh, there is one. There you go.
Okay.
That would be like your custom action, I guess.
Yes. This customized multi-user actions. I'm not see here script action. I don't know why.
Let's take your word for it.
Maybe because I'm on between the statuses.
Right. So previously, when I've tried to do some tests, like just to build some test workflows, I've used like the approve and assign a lot, and then I just add things to it, like sort of post action or specify what I need when the user needs to approve, like maybe some kind of form, maybe require some fields, maybe as a post event, have somebody assign to it.
Yes, for each action you can define the form of that action. You can put the fields for that action. Also, you can set to whom case will be assigned after action is performed in the assignment rules. Also, what you can do, you can also control who will receive email notification after action is performed, and also to control which email template user will receive. So there are some advanced settings that this action may be used as bulk action, or
and so,
also you can define the post actions on each action scripts.
While you're talking about the assignment rules, I see that it lets you assign to role and so on, but I don't see assignment group in there. Is that only
if I select allow assignment to more than one user, I will see the assignment groups.
Great.
But if we want to do something more complex for the assignment, we need to run an execute as script, right? As you showed us before.
Yes.
Okay.
Or to perform post action if post action cover your requirement.
Oh yeah, as you showed us before. Yeah.
Yeah.
So not to get into real in depth here, but Dennis, scroll up to the advanced settings and show that pane.
Okay. Here
advanced settings. And Dennis, show the advanced settings.
Okay.
There you go. So a couple of things that I want to point out here, you guys, that is really powerful is action can be used as a custom view. So if you check that, this action will be used to override the view case action. So you guys all know that the view case action is the one that actually presents the screen that we're seeing when we actually view a case. So we can actually use this action instead. So it's kind of like always an edit screen. So I think most common you probably use that for like edit fields action or something like that.
Edit fields or edit case.
Or edit case, right. So what I did for AIG Japan was actually just set up a series of screens that were just edit screens, right? I go from one, click submit, go to the next, click submit, and so that's how I did it with this setting here. So it's kind of it's cool. We could spend more time talking about that at some point. And then the one right below that, and I don't know, Dennis, if you have more info on this, but next action system ID, just below that, I believe that's what allows us to do some straight through processing. Does that sound about accurate?
Yes, if you want to link different actions, for that we can use the next action. That means that, for example, if I have in my workflow in one status, if I have add comment and change status action, I can link them without clicking 2 times on 2 different actions. That means when I'm performing add comment, my status of the case will be automatically changed because change status action is executed.
Oh, that's good.
And also then, in addition, so you can use that in conjunction with either scripting or these post-action rules to do some straight-through processing. So the case is initially created with a set of fields, a set of data, and then you can validate that each step of the process, and if there's an error or something, kick it out to a different status or an error queue or something. So that's what we did for AIG North America. We leveraged some of the straight-through processing to do this validation.
Okay.
Dennis, what is group change status actions, though? I'm not sure what that one.
Group
First
change
one on this
status action,
page.
it is actually one that it can be used for the change status. This is the development installation, so this field should be visible for the change status action type. So, for example, if you have in one status defined different change status actions, for example, one will lead you to status B, second will lead you to status C. You can choose: do you want to have 3 separate actions, or you want to group them into one? And when you click on that action, you will have the drop-down list with the statuses in which you want to go.
Okay, that's right. Yep. It makes sense to me. I'm not so sure if everyone else on the phone understood that, but
so you can select what next action you want, or not sure.
Yeah. So, Dennis, to explain this, why don't you cancel and go back to the matrix on just to the table view.
Okay.
So what we're saying, you were to have, let's say, one more status over here on the right, and you set it up so you could change status from assigned to approval. Let's just add one more. Okay, you get that one anyways. So if you were to set this up to where you could change status from, let's say, assigned to status 2 and assigned to completed. So you would have those actions in those 2 cells, right? If you wanted to be able to change status. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
You'd add that action to those 2 cells.
Okay.
Yeah, we can I guess just show it.
So just to be clear, Aaron, you want me to demonstrate next action or group change status?
I was just trying to explain to these guys. You didn't need to necessarily set all this up. I was just
okay.
Explain it. Yeah. So now let's just show those 2 actions, those 2 change status actions in those 2 cells. So you see how there's one there, and then under the status 2, there's a change status there. So what that setting is saying is that, do you want to see those 2 change status actions as 2 separate buttons? Or do you want to group those so you see one button called change status? I click it and it gives me a drop down that says status 2 or completed. Does that make more sense?
So you can pick the next status, or
yeah, but it still has to be set up in the workflow, right? It still has to be set up in the workflow. It's just, what's the user experience? Am I seeing 2 separate buttons, or am I seeing one button that with a pick list?
So if we make that setting, then when the user is on the assigned status, they're able to see on the form, they're able to select what next status to take this form to, right? They get the option to select the next status on the form.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I understand. Great. So just something to keep in mind. I was curious, as it was mentioned earlier, that we could have sort of a join condition before we let a case go to the next status. Like if it goes to multiple users and we have to wait for approval from all of them. I don't know if there will be time during this call, but I would like to see how we can do that as well, please.
How it's set up?
Okay,
let's call that out for an action item maybe for the next session.
Yeah,
I don't know if we have enough time, or
Yes, definitely. It's now like 50 minutes we were talking.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe this is a good way to kind of end these calls, is to kind of talk about what we want to discuss for the next session. So everyone's kind of on the same page and agrees that, hey, maybe I have this requirement coming up in this project, or once we get some more sales engineers here, they're going to talk about different issues that they might be coming up with. So maybe just kind of talk about that. So we can slate that for the next session. Do like the multi approval
actions, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
multi-approval action. So we can talk to that. What else would be a good session for you guys to talk about?
I think also setting timeouts and like changing status on timeouts or assigning cases to different groups or users upon timeouts, sending emails on timeouts. We use that a lot.
So just to clarify what timeout means, that just
All
a
right.
certain timing, the timing rule that's
So,
just a kind of action?
Yeah, like an SLA sort of definition. For example, in dispute management, we have these group of approvers, which are like the main core com business admins, and if they can't handle a request in a certain amount of time, we send them a nudge, a notification, hey, you need to look at this. And if somebody has already, say there's a group of 8 admins, one of them has already picked up a case to look at, but they get swamped and they don't get to look at it, or they're lazy, they're on vacation, something, and then it is kind of sensitive, and the business has it set to maybe 2 days. So in 2 days, if an admin who picks up a case doesn't look at it, it times out in 2 days and goes back to the group of 8 people. So it's visible again to 8 people instead of the 1 person who picked it up. So that's one way of timeout. Depending on what status it is at, we might want to complete a case, like we don't even want approval anymore. We send out a notification saying this has been auto-approved because you didn't do anything for 8 days, as an example. So that's another way we would use it. We would send the notification out and we would close the case. Like, you know, with support tickets, if it goes to a certain status and if they're asking for your response, if you don't respond, they close it. That would be one way. Another would be like if a manager is approving, this is before admins, and if the manager does not approve and if approval is not necessary, we may want to send them a notification that it timed out and send it forward to the next level, which would be the 8 admins. So those are some examples I can think of.
So that makes sense. We have some standard features called reminders and escalation rules that we handle that with. So what I would say is that we do 2 things to cover that, because you actually mentioned 2 different things that I think would be useful to talk about. Not only the timeout rules, or what we would call escalation rules, but also this idea of things being created, requests being created or cases being created, and it going into like a general queue that someone can pick up, and kind of setting up what that process looks like. I think that would probably be beneficial. I've heard that a few times in requirements, just as pre-sales, but I'm sure you guys will come up against that as for services as well. So I would say we cover those 2 topics next time as well.
Okay, that'll be great.
Is anyone keeping is anyone keeping notes of this? Should I write this down?
I am keeping notes.
Okay.
So, but it would be good to someone writes in email after the meeting.
Yeah, I will send that. I will do that.
Okay, great.
And so, and this is not Danica, right? Is it?
Oh, well, yes.
Oh,
so,
it is? Oh, I guess I don't recognize your voice.
Oh, yeah, that's
Aaron
that's talking.
Okay, all right.
This is Aaron that's talking.
Right, no, I recognize you, Aaron. But are there multiple Danitas, or maybe
only
not?
one.
Okay.
Only the one.
Maybe
You're getting greedy, Sandeep.
Because I think usually we speak on Skype, so I guess it just sounds different, a little different.
Guys, I have a quick question. Is it possible to export a workflow that I develop in one domain and then exported it and then imported it in another environment, in another domain? Is that possible?
Well, if you mean on copying complete tenants, it's possible, but it is possible from the development side. It is not something that you can do from the workflow. It's something that our developers must do from the database.
Yeah.
Okay, because we will have to have a document, because we typically have like dev, UAT, production environment, and that's kind of, we will need to understand that process Raul is asking about, because that's how we do it today. We develop one environment, export, import into another.
So today you guys have the ability to export and import workflows, just individual workflows? Or
correct. I call workflow implementation. So that's, we export to XML file and we import in different environments.
Okay. Yeah, today we don't have that, so we can't export just a single workflow. Is Dennis has said.
But it is something. Sorry to interrupt you, Aaron. But it is something that we are currently working on. To copy just some individual components from one tenant to another tenant.
So I have kind of a follow-up question on that. That's kind of segues to this. And I may have missed, I'm just getting into this, so if you answer that before, I apologize for repeating the question. But another element of kind of the exporting is, at least in Teamworks, we have the external process variables, something that the customer has kind of a UI to access and change. So, and that could be, for example, one customer has a credit level of 1,000 and another has a 5,000 to trigger approval. And why kind of exporting separate elements is important, at least in Lombardi, but between environments we don't want to overwrite some of the files that come with the workflow. But my real question is, where in this tool can we define kind of variables that the customer can manage ongoing to fit their business? So, I mean, presumably they are not buried in some script, but in some way accessible to some UI for somebody to maintain ongoing.
Like a central location, right, Wojtek?
Correct. Like presumably with some UI, so the customer can be told, well, when your business changes from 1,000 to 5,000, you don't have to call Calidus, but you go there and make a change yourself.
Yeah. So two comments there. One, obviously, this ability to deploy between environments is in design right now, right? So, how that's going to be defined, what components are going to be pushed from one to another, we'll probably we can include you guys on that, so you guys can say, hey, this is real life how we use this kind of functionality. These are the features that we'd like to see out of it. So maybe it's an action item. We can include you guys on that case that we're tracking, if there is one out there, for that feature of deploying between environments. I think Dennis is, so that's the first point. Second point, I think Dennis is going to show you now where we can set up central variables that we could use, right?
Yes. So
there is that ability, what you're asking for.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
So you could do fields and forms, Dennis. What I was more thinking, though, is go to tools and settings, I think it is.
From the user side or from the admin?
Still from the admin.
Okay.
I believe it's tools and settings. And then the last tab there is custom. So you can actually have, parameters, if you will, or these different settings. You can add new parameters here, and then
I reference them in my scripts, correct?
Yeah, that's the idea. Now I'll have to confirm, or we'll have to confirm for you if we can leverage this or use this within a script. I would presume so. There's no reason why we wouldn't, but we just want to make sure that that's possible right now.
Because we rely very heavily on that feature. I mean, it's not kind of simple feature, but there are so many variables that are kind of customer managed. I mean, that to bury them in scripts would be probably relatively a nightmare to constantly make changes because they could change.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Right. Okay.
Now, to expand on this, we should probably, because if what you're saying is true, that there's that many different variables, you probably want a good way of organizing these variables then as well, right?
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll tell you what in Lombardi. I mean, in Lombardi, we can create an APV kind of file, as many as we want, and we'll give them a meaningful name. It could be a global one, it could be specific to a workflow, it could be specific to TrueProducer, whatever you name it. And then within there, you have a naming convention, and you can, you can just attach it to an activity, and then you can reference the values. But we, in my last project, we probably had 20 of these, so they're more granular. So you absolutely right, especially when the customer is, especially on the more complex workflows, they need to go and maintain those. So organization would be fantastic, but I would take anything almost at this point, just so we don't bury those values in, in the script.
Exactly. Well,
as an example, like Dick Sporting Goods wanted to know if they could change the SLA timeout value from 2 days to 3 days, depending on how their payout is working. So that is an example of why they would want a little bit of control.
But something like that would be your SLA rule, right? Or your escalation rule, which we're going to talk about next time. So some of those things are just
so another example, for example, would be, I use EPVs to represent an internal user and true producer. We use producer type of CNA person. That could change. True producer kind of follows non-design. So instead of hard coding it anywhere in my script, I would create an EPV and say, give it some name, internal producer type, and then give it a name or comma delimited names. So then every workflow, instead of having, right now I have 13, instead of every workflow hard coding in multiple places, they all use the same variable. And if that changes, which it frequently did up front, at least initially, I'm not chasing it down for days. I am making one change and everything is good to go. So those are the kind of, we can review where else we use it, but those are the kind of configurations we like to maintain.
And that makes special sense if we want to reduce workflows, not only in different environments on the same customer, but sometimes we have we try to reduce the workflows in different projects. So for different customers. So and sometimes in a customer, the field that we need is a generic attribute, let's say generic attribute 1, but in another customer, the parameter that we need is the generic attribute 10, things like that, So if we want to be able to reduce as much as we can the workflows between different customers with that functionality of export and import, this feature of custom properties is going to be, we really, really need that kind of functionality.
I guess I didn't quite understand what you were saying. If we want to reduce the number of workflows between customers, you mean what's different between one workflow and another?
Well, okay.
Yeah, go ahead, Raul.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Well, our goal is develop stock solutions, stock workflows that we can reduce in different projects. So we don't have to start from scratch building a new workflow, okay, because, for example, onboarding, disputes management, typically these are typical workflows that in most of our customers we can use the stock solution and then customize that workflow. Customize means change the look and feel, the fields that we want to display on the screen, but changing some of the routing logic, things like that. But we don't reinvent the wheel every time. So we try to reduce workflows as much as we can, okay, and then customize them.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I understand what you're saying. I think a lot of this is also we're going to set up what we call template tenants. So you have a template tenant for, this is insurance template tenant, right? And it has your onboarding workflow in it. It has your, mass producer changes or, hierarchy changes or whatever it is, right? So that workflow or that tenant will have all of that built into it. So you don't have to start from scratch. So I think that's the ultimate goal we want to get to. You guys are doing that today, right? Where you have certain workflows that you're reusing, so you're not starting from scratch. We have that same capability here. I think it's to a better extent, probably, because you guys are probably just exporting an XML file and using that as a starting place, right?
Something
no,
like that.
Well, it's similar, yeah, but if we have different tenants with some pre-built template tenants with some built workflows, I think that would be also fantastic. I mean, because as you say, depending on the type of customer, of course, the workflows may be different. So that's also really a good idea. Yeah.
So, Aaron, while we have this custom parameter form, I just wanted to make sure I understand. So you thought it is possible to use them in scripts, but when I mentioned the SLA, like the number of days or something, would that not be able? Would we be able to use these sort of central variables also for settings like timeout number of days, for example?
Today's, I believe that today that answer is no, right? So if you wanted to change the timeout timing, you would literally go to our escalation rules section, which is an interface, right? You modify it there. It sounds like today you guys are probably writing code to handle these timeout rules. Is that right?
Well, are you asking about TMUX or?
Let's talk about specifically timeouts because that's what your example you're giving.
I mean, we just drag a timer on an activity, specify the number of days of script, but dynamically calculates and lead it to whatever activity should happen when the timer triggers.
Right. And it's set with like a central variable, so the customer can change the variable if their business need changes. And the reason why I'm asking you this is the first project, Dick's Sporting Goods, they've asked me this like a couple of times. I had to say no to them, that they cannot change it, but I was not very comfortable saying that, so I just want to make sure, or how they would change it. I mean, of course they can go inside and change it in the SLA rule, so we'll have to give them a little handout and say, you know, this is where you go, inside setup and SLA, and you change the number. But is that the only way?
Today, that is the only way, and in my opinion, that gives them more flexibility than, you know, here's a list of like 5 different variables or something, and, you know, I don't know. I would argue that you have more flexibility in just going in and modifying a rule. It's not a, you know, once you guys see it, it's not like it's scary, right? It's very.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general here, I mean, we will have to start thinking differently, right? Obviously, it's not the same tool. As long as it can be done in a reasonable way, we'll learn it and we'll adopt it, right? Yeah. There are some things we are used to rely on. There's another way, but more or less works, you know, in a way that we want, that we need. Fine, we'll just need to learn it.
Right. I mean, we can give them the steps to go change it, and they can, like you said, they can change more things than just the number of days. So that they're probably going to like that better. Of course, at the same time, you know, that's prone to them making changes they don't expect and they didn't mean to. So, but that's kind of another thing, right?
Okay. So then, so we can kind of talk about that. I'm not sure if there's anything else that we want to cover.
I have one more question for you, Aaron. It's more or less technical, very just curiosity. You're obviously the pre-sales guy for this tool, and it's obviously selling. How are you positioning this during sales? It takes 5 minutes to build a workflow, or, I mean, what is being told to the customers?
I mean,
what is
I position it as an easily implementable tool. I don't ever give them, oh, look, you can set everything up in 2 minutes. I mean, I don't say that. I mean, if they come and walk away with that impression, I mean, because the tool looks easy to use.
Yes, I think we're getting kind of an impression that the customers are getting this impression that it's, you know, our timelines are, you know, they appear to be very short, and maybe, you know, my concern comes from right now inexperience with this tool, but they seem fairly aggressive, and obviously you're selling it, which is fantastic. Congratulations. something we couldn't do with Lombardi, I guess. But at the same time, we are a little bit concerned about the number of projects coming and the extremely short timelines that are coming with.
But who's defining the timeline?
Well, that I don't know exactly how we are coming up
Yeah.
with these timelines and who's committing to them. But another thing, and you don't have to answer if it's classified, is Calidus charging license fee for this, or is it kind of thrown in just to get big deal with TrueCom or TrueProducer?
That's classified. No,
Okay.
no, I'm just joking. It is typically rolled into the overall price. Well, to the customer, it's presented as one single price, right? Oh, here's your comp per payee price or whatever, right? But on the back end, we are allocating it out. We're saying this is what the workflow was, and this is what the comp was. So on the back end.
I see. Okay. So if we ever want to see how how much money workflow is generating on the back end and within Calidus, there is a discrete allocation.
Yes, there is now. Okay. Now, yeah, I mean, there's politics that are involved in how that allocation is done as well. so sometimes, like I think Dick's workflow is allocated a lot more than comp for some various different reasons. Yeah.
Interesting.
So there's just some weird politics that are involved in how that.
At least it reverts to what has happened in the past, where workflow was thrown in for free just to close the deal.
Well, and I think that is kind of how it's being positioned, but like I said, there is an allocation being done.
Okay.
So I think once we get to a point with this, where I think everyone in the company is feeling more comfortable with it, you guys are feeling more comfortable, you can implement it, and we have some standard template tenants that we can kind of reuse. We have some good demos we can put forward. I feel like we are going to start upselling this and actually increase some of our license fees based on this. But I don't know. At the same time, Dan also wants to use workflow for like everything. Workflow is going to be the back end for like everything. And so if that's the case, how do you have different licenses for workflow and then for comp? So I'm not sure how that works.
AIG right now has 24 workflows. and actually, so as you transition, this might be a stupid question based on my lack of knowledge of this. So AIG, the way it was structured by Calidus, it basically is like a processing tool. There's almost no screen. It's more of an automation on the back end. There's multiple things that workflows have too, but there's supposed to be no screens really.
Yeah.